Hello, everybody, and welcome to another financial program. Hopefully, you saw the one that we're going to release, or we released a couple of days ago. Please look down in the description for Meten and my description for our channels and the link to that show. Very, very important, very, very interesting. Today is a forecast show, and we will not be talking about any of the bits that we did on the last show. This is purely a forecast show, and Meten is going to introduce himself and start talking about some of the dates and some of the stuff that we foresee or he foresees coming up that are very important. That although we might not again still be seeing major crashes and bits and pieces, these dates will trigger events. And as I was talking about in the last show, that the snowball as it continues down that hill, and these are little by little by little by little until all of a sudden, bang, the whole thing goes. And so this is what we're talking about with the predictions, some of the big energies that are coming in. So fascinating stuff. Meten, please introduce yourself and take it away.
All right, let's do it. So it's Meten from Plutonic Planes, and I'm going to go over what's going on this month in November and how it relates to next year. And I'll be going through the month, and Gary will be adding his input, and then we'll leave it at that. So I'll start off with saying that we are entering in November, which many of you already know, I imagine, a Mercury retrograde. Now, this is our last Mercury retrograde until the Aries vortex perfects in February of 2026. Right after it perfects, we'll have another Mercury retrograde in March of 2026. So this is our last kind of filling station, our last kind of fill up before we arrive at our destination in February. And this is our last chance to reflect, retract, reset, review, reassess what we've been doing in order to make our vision a reality. And this goes for all of us because we all have Aries 0 and 1 degrees somewhere in our chart. So we all will be arriving at the same time of this perfection of our vision during February of next year. And so we're going to be impelled into making decisions, into initiating some things in a different way than we've been practicing. We're going to be shifted by others and ourselves into seeing things in a different way and accounting for how we've done things in the past and kind of adding a new veneer, a new way of doing it, or just seeing what really has worked this last year and what hasn't worked, and then making decisions as such forward. Um, Gary, do you really feel this happening? How do you feel about like that?
Yeah, I do. I think we've actually been on this journey since we were probably first doing this in August, to be fair. Sorry. Um, and again, if you can hear loud bangs in the background on my mic, I do apologize. Bonfire stuff still going on. Um, I think we've been building this energy up for a long time, and I think it's no coincidence that we probably started in August talking about this kind of build up on this road, and it has been a road. It's been a real journey as such, and as we've gone along this road, we've seen more and more things going on, and I think November. You spoke to us just before we started. The big. I think you said that the beginning part. In a few days' time, when this goes out, it's probably going to be about the time that we're now talking about date wise. We're going to start seeing things, and we're going to start seeing the veil lifting, or the mass psychosis of not seeing starting to show. And I do think as well that a lot of this has got to do with, particularly in America, the federal shutdown, because I think people are going to start to really, they're starting to feel it, and they're going to start looking. You know, when you're bimbling along You don't look at anything. And when you're forced to finally stop and look at something and really look at something as to what's going on, I think that clarifies the mind, and then suddenly things become clearer, and the veil lifts, and you can start seeing what's been going on underneath. You know the who's peddling those wheels really or not. So yeah,
Right. So we're doing this vid on November 8th. So
yeah,
as of today, and today in the US it's Saturday. What day is it for you, Gary?
yes, Saturday evening for me.
Oh,
Yeah,
Saturday evening. So Saturday morning for me and for the US. And today Uranus goes retrograde back into Taurus, and it'll go back into Taurus until April. This is significant because Uranus rules precognition and our ability to envision the future and what's occurring. And because it's going retrograde into Taurus, it's going to move out of the 20. So that may affect our psychic insight. We'll see on an individual level. But moving back into Taurus means it's moving back into the earth. So sudden shifts and surprises for the earth. So one thing I wanted to acknowledge and note that we've been seeing earth changes these last 7 years, a lot of earth changes with Uranus and Taurus. And it's been in Gemini since July. Now it's going back for about 4 or 5 months. So what that means is that we could see more earth changes. We could see more earthquakes. And I think as of October 30th, which was our prediction from last month, that we would see something occur on an earth-wide level, possibly October 30th, 31st, or November 1st. So there were earthquakes. I'm not remembering the country right now on October 30th. And there were more earthquakes in November 2nd and 3rd. I think Afghanistan had some earthquakes. I think, I'm trying to remember the other areas. I wrote it down. I don't know if I wrote it down on this page of notes, but that is what Uranus is kind of sharing, that it may affect the Earth with earthquakes. It could be a return to some volcanoes erupting, or tsunamis, or storms, or hurricanes, especially during the winter season. And this could be very strong and active. And then as of Sunday, which is November 10th, Mercury is going to go formally retrograde in Taurus back into Scorpio. So there's something we're missing. There's something that was, and this happened with the eclipses. There was, the sky blacks out and something is done. Some plot is incepted, and we don't know what it is. All we see is the outcome months later. And so a part of this with Mercury, the messenger, the emissary of the sun, the one who communicates the messages of what's happening, is moving back into Scorpio. And so it's going back into the underworld to figure out what happened in the dark. So we hear this term a lot, but especially in Scorpio season, this is the investigator. This is the psychological investigation in the underworld for some kind of truth that's going to be brought out into the public. And so with this Mercury retrograde, Mercury's going back, and it's going to unearth some uncomfortable truths for us as a collective and in your individual lives, as Venus has gone into Scorpio as of November 7th, so earlier this week. It's going to be heart-to-heart connections and relations in our lives that deep communication is going to be had. And the only solvent for it is going to be complete authenticity, in order to gain trust. Because Scorpio is about trust. Scorpio is about learning to trust the other. It's about intimacy and seeing into another and allowing them to see into you. And it doesn't stop there. This is just waves and waves and waves and waves. So the planets are like, they're like mad children running about this month. It's a lot of chaos. They're just like running around, like causing chaos. And so after that, on November 11th, we have Jupiter going retrograde as well. And Jupiter presently is in Cancer at 25 degrees, so it'll just go back a ways. And I'm forgetting the gate that it's in, but we'll see it when I pull up the chart for November 19th. We'll see what gate Jupiter's in. And on the next day after that, November 12th, Mercury will conjunct Mars. And because Mars is right around almost in Sag, or we're pretty much already in Sag. So that's the emissary of the sun conjuncting Mars, which creates boundaries, which expresses itself without any, um, directly without any like hiding. And so the energy of November 12th and 13th is very intense. And so that could be a date to watch for something happening on the collective geopolitical scale as well as in your individual life, because that could be the conflict that's created that pulls us into looking deeper into ourselves and into others and what's going on with our lives and our hearts. And so watch out for that date, November 12th and 13th. It will reach, there'll be high intensity emotional expression, very volatile, very aggressive time period. And you could witness others even being mean. And this could be what creates the conflict that is resolved later on. Uh, Gary, I'll stop there. Do you feel this energy building up? Are you feeling like all this kind of shadow Scorpio energy this month?
Yeah, yeah, I am. Just going back to what Meten said about October. Um, on the 29th of October, we actually had the cloud collapse or cloud issue with, was it Google or one of those stupid ones? And in the UK, we had big issues with payments and access to data and information. I think there's a clothes selling thing called Vinted, and I think that was at least a week before they really sorted their payment systems out and things were starting to work. Because although they could make payments and accept payments, they couldn't actually pay the people who had sold the goods. And so we did see, you know, the Microsoft cloud, and I think there's issues with people accessing electronic bits and pieces and the cloud stuff and companies working. So, you know, that all that energy has, had been building. And what Maten's talking about here is also certainly 11th, 12th, 13th. If we continue to have the federal shutdown in America, I think around this time, because of those energies, we're going to see a pinch point, and who knows, we could see people taking stuff into their own hands, and we could see people going into Walmarts and emptying the shelves and walking out with food because they've had enough. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying there's a lot of energy there. And what Maten's talking about is that the clarity of the situation. And well, if I can't afford anything, I may as well just go in and help myself because I'm not going to starve, you know. And these energies will be felt across the entire realm, I'm just concentrating on America because for me, it's a fairly obvious example where we might see something going on with people, food, and finances.
Well said, Gary. Thanks for adding that. So, in essence, to generalize for a moment, to step aside and step back and look at what this month is, we're looking at a blend of Scorpio and Sagittarius energy. So, Scorpio is all about depth, great depth of feeling and interiority. And it's almost like I love to look at it like the metaphor of the bow and arrow, with the symbolism of Sagittarius, where you're pulling back, right? And depending how far you pull back with the bow is how far the arrow is going to go. So Scorpio is the pulling back. How deep are we looking at this to resolve, these inner aspects of ourselves? And then when we're ready, when we've made peace with that, then we let go and shoot the arrow, and the arrow goes as far as the fire of Sagittarius energy is willing to take it in terms of our goal and our movement with that truth. because Sagittarius is the arrow of truth, and Scorpio is the depth of authenticity, of our intent, of our awareness, of our truth realization, our inner truth realization. And so this month it's a mix of those two energies because the sun will go into Sagittarius around the 22nd, 23rd. So now I'm going to pull up the charts for the big day that I'm kind of looking at for this month. And I'm just scanning my notes for any of those things. Okay. So I'm going to pull up the charts here. So I think I'll start with me sending a request to Gary. Let's
Yeah,
hope that
now
Gary
share
accepts that
screen. Yeah,
request.
there we go.
And there he does. And so, oh, they're not showing up. Okay, give me a second. I must have not
Did you say
enlarged.
Mercury retrograde already? Well, that's why I ain't sharing.
We're in the shadow period, so
Yeah, yeah.
it's not formally dragged, but we're still in the shadow.
But it's interesting that we've recently had also an awful lot of hacks into private information. It seems to have been uh, all of a sudden there's been a slew of that kind of event going on as well, and I don't know if that's part of what we're going to be seeing as well, because it does seem that our electronic data, regardless of what the government say and the big businesses say, really is not safe at the moment.
Yeah, that's terrifying. On many, many levels, our information is not safe, and yet, it's repeated ad infinitum that this is going to be the new space of our information, and how can such a platform work if there's constant threats to our data?
Yeah,
That's like saying we're living in a physical world where there's constantly storms or meteors coming down, or you know what I mean? Like there's just a world of chaos, a threat every second, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so would you see the astrology chart or the human design?
I see the astrology chart at the moment.
Okay, cool. We'll start here then. So this is the astrology chart for November 19th, Wednesday. So this is not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday coming up. And this is the new moon, and this will be the new moon in Scorpio, 28 degrees. And as usual, I like to do it a couple of hours prior to the exact time of the new moon because I feel like the energy reaches its climax before, and usually incidents that occur will occur before, sometimes even a day before. And in this particular chart, we have Scorpio, we have the sun and moon. Okay, so moving the 28 degrees, which is almost an anaretic degree. So it's the end of something, it's an ending, it's moving to a new beginning.
That's at the bottom of
And
the
this
chart, isn't it? You're talking about the bottom of the chart. Is that the 28
Yeah,
degrees?
yeah, yeah. Here's all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Scorpio. Right, right.
yeah,
You can see
yeah.
all the
That's it.
Scorpio there.
That's it.
So
Superb. Yeah, yeah.
you see it's
Perfect.
all moving. You see it's all moving the Sag, right? So it's the ending of this Scorpio energy, and it's moving in the Sag, and it's a new moon, and the new moon's beginning in this ending of Scorpio, which means that the energy is resetting on a point within us, within our own ability to be authentic and intimate and allow ourselves to be vulnerable and seen, and also see what the truth is and express it and relate it back. And that's the arrival into Sagittarius. And in tension with this particular moon, you'll notice that Taurus is in 29 degrees Scorpio, which is 1 degree off an exact opposition with this sun in Scorpio, moon in Scorpio. Mercury's also at 28. So this whole assemblage of planets is in opposition to Uranus. And Uranus moving back into Scorpio is hitting that point exactly. So it's the message from Uranus that all of a sudden there's going to be a sudden shift, a sudden surprise, a sudden shock in the energies of what's occurring in our world, both the internal and the external. So on a geopolitical level, we could see some surprises that affect some of us in the world, some areas of the world. Now, this is Uranus, so it rules electricity. It rules, the electricity of the mind, it's a higher frequency of Mercury. So it also communicates very rapidly. Now, because it rolls electricity, it's interesting. I was thinking of the Carrington event style stuff, that they constantly promote in
Yeah.
film and music and imagery everywhere. And so I was thinking of that. So I don't know that such an event could occur so soon right now. And if it did, it would just be a test run of a couple days, like certain areas losing electricity. What's been happening already? We've been seeing this in multiple countries. And so just wherever you are, just make sure you have, storage of food, what you need in case you don't have electricity for a couple of days, your own generators, whatever it is you need, make sure you have set up your own kind of 3 day or a week-long emergency setup so that you're okay in case anything does occur. Now, Uranus is also ruling. It's a new moon, so it's a new direction, right? After kind of reflecting on things, the Mercury retrograde is still in effect, but because it's in the heart of Scorpio, it's our mind that's going to be affected. It's a new shift, a new turn, and something we haven't thought of before, something new that hasn't occurred to us. It's a shift that's okay. It's a realization that comes from a truth that's revealed in a new direction, a new kind of weird eccentric direction we didn't think of before with Uranus opposing Mercury. And a good time to meditate during these days and see what flashes of insight you get. It's a very powerful time. It'll be very frustrating externally, so keep it more of an internal enterprise. Um, or if you decide to externalize it, do it through dance, do it through something safe, because when Uranus is on the world stage, it can lead to sudden incidents, sudden accidents, but you want it to manifest in sudden movements in a way that's like that expresses energy and expresses the heart. So like dancing, you know what I mean, or performance or exercise or whatever it is you choose to do to move, however you choose to move your body. That's really important. And you see, it's a time period of there's a lot of retrogrades here. I mean, it's not just Mercury and retrograde, it's Jupiter and Uranus this month going retrograde, and Saturn and Neptune are already retrograde in Pisces. And that's the re-envisioning of the Aries vortex that's arriving in February. Because by the time we arrive in February, we'll be done with Pisces. So what you're gonna lose, you're gonna leave behind whatever's in Pisces. So make sure you're collecting your spiritual fortitude from Pisces at this time, because it's only a couple more months and then it's gonna go straight into Aries, into action. Right now, Pisces has no boundaries. Pisces is about everything connecting, everything one, you're one with everything. So it's a great time to meditate and find that vision within you so that you know what you're working towards once it starts to solidify in February of next year for
Yeah.
2026. Gary, you want to comment on that? I went off a little.
Yeah, no, no, that's brilliant. No, again, we're seeing a huge amount of energies hitting us. And, with the new moon, it's kind of a fresh beginning again, but it's not. It's a continuation of what we've been seeing, but kind of on steroids again, isn't it, Meten? I mean, it's a build up and a continuous build up, and things could overflow. There could be frustration. It might not be a good time to be making any kind of financial decision. It could be a good time not to be doing anything, and certainly not going into major cities, you know, because I feel a frustration. I get frustration coming through to me, you know. Um, so, stay safe out there because we could see some strange things. We might not. But the way the energy's been going and flowing, it certainly feels that way. Now, something that I want to bring up as well is Meten's talking about February a lot. And I know that Meten is going to be doing a standalone show where he's talking about this date in February that we're building up to. Now I'm getting flesh of the goose on this one. We're building up to something in February 2026. What it really is, we're not certain yet. but it's a big, big deal. It's going to be a big, big piece of an enlightenment, and it's something that, I don't fully understand yet. I'm still trying to work out what's going on because although it's a
Don't
little
matter.
way away, it's close enough where we need to start really looking at it, be mindful about this. So how can I put this in a context? It's like your annual leave is in February and you run a business. And at the moment, you're beginning to run round and build up to the fact that you need to get everything done before you go on holiday. And as you're building up, the energies, the excitement of the holiday, and all the pressures that are coming are building and building and building. And this is what we're kind of seeing this. We're seeing this build up of the energies. Now, obviously, I'm looking forward to Meten's um, forecast in February. And I'm not going to say the date because I'm going to let Meten do that in his show. But it's something that we have to be mindful of. And I think we are now building to a crescendo. It's like we're climbing the mountain, and this February period could be a standing on top of the mountain where we've achieved what we're going to do, or we get that, oh my God, we've achieved something moment. So I'm going to leave it there because I think that there's a lot more to come from this. And certainly it's a big enough thing that we need to look at it in isolation as well as further investigation. But we are building. And so what Maten's talking about on the 19th, with all the retrograde and everything that's going on, it's just it's adding fuel to what we need. It's making sure we have enough fuel to get there. Maten, any further thoughts on my babble?
Uh, no, that was brilliant. That was brilliant. I was just gonna say these are emotional cycles that are turning and turning. So we're on a roller coaster. We're going up, we're going down, we're going up. Knowing at which point to breathe in and breathe out. That's the purpose of this. That's what we're doing. We're sharing the collective breath, like of these emotional cycles of when we release, when we hold on, when we let go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Because the intensity is just it's what it is. We're all on the ride together. There's there's no escaping it.
Yeah, yeah. And
But
another way we could be looking at this in the financial, because it's a financial program, fundamentally.
and that's what the cycles are. It's the same thing. The financial cycles are even more so emotional cycles because they're built on fear and greed. You know what I mean? Like buy, sell. When do I buy? When do I sell? Like, but I need to make sure that I'm buying low and selling high, right? It's what it is. There's even more fear associated because we're trying to ride these markets. And yeah, no, it's a whole nother it's another level of the same.
It is.
But yeah,
It
well
is.
said, well said, Gary.
Yeah, yeah. And the,
Yeah,
and
there's
the
a
other
lot there.
the other thing is, and this is no prediction, but we know that gold and silver have recently been smashed down by the banks, by the paper market. This control of the system could last several more weeks. Gold and silver could continue to drop for several more weeks. Is the clarity we're going to see, the realization that gold and silver should really be a lot more valuable and they're far more precious than the system that controls the monetary system has been letting on? And are we going to start to see things? Is the public at large going to start to see the folly of what's been going on? And are we going to start to see little sparks of things moving up? The release of things, the understanding, the depth of emotion and feeling. I don't know. But it's a very interesting time and period where all sorts of funny things could happen. The stock markets could go up and down. We could see huge amounts wiped off in a day, only for the next day for it to come back up again. You know?
It does look like we're in a mid-correction phase. As far as like what I follow closely, crypto, it looks like we're in a mid-correction phase around middle of the month, and then there'll be a rebound at the end of the month with the planets going into Sag. So it looks like there could be, I mean, it'll be volatile conditions, even if it surges. Most of this month is just an expression of volatility on every level. There'll be, highs and then crashes, highs and then crashes. But the end of the month, there should be less confusion. But as far as like right now till later in the month, it's confusion building, and it's and a bunch of revised narratives that'll come onto the world stage, and editing, temporal editing of what's happening, what's not happening, what we see, this affects the silver and gold markets as we know they're manipulated by these derivative markets. They have to be. And that'll become more and more visible and clear as we move on as well.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned crypto a little bit more. I'm not interested in crypto, as everybody knows who watches me. Um, I struggle with it, and it's something I've never really looked into. I know you have a little bit more interest in crypto. Is there anything more that you could kind of share with people, the way you see kind of crypto going at the moment, other than just volatile? Do you see a rise coming at some point, or do you see a consolidation, or do you see a dip? How do you feel the market's going? And this is a feeling, people. We're looking in front, we're looking at patterns, and we're just trying to see how it would, with the planetary movements, how things have gone, and Meten's knowledge of this.
I think at this time, no one's naive about crypto anymore. Pretty much the whales control the market. And once it rises, they and they make sure that they fuel the media and the news with crypto fever so that people buy in late, as the market rises. And then once enough people get in, they crash it. And I think people are wise to this. They do this over and over and over again. But there's certain cycles in the market that are still volatile, but still stabilized in the cycles that actually occur. So it looks like after this Bitcoin rise, huge rises we've been having over and over again of new highs for Bitcoin. I think it does look like the altcoin market will start to rise up, and Bitcoin will lose some of its control of the market, and we'll start to see some of that this month at the end of the month, and in December, up into January, up until the end of, I'd say, the year of the snake. And I don't know about further than that. It's quite possible. It depends what occurs in February. Again, I'll be revisiting that in a video that I do, as Gary mentioned, in a couple of days. I'm going to do a video on February, and I'll touch on that because it'll kind of depend. February is the month that will decide kind of what these cycles really are going to look like in the future. And I'm talking silver, gold, and crypto. And it may not be a big shift. It may just be cycles as it's always been. But because of new implementations, and I don't want to say too much now, but it could change those cycles, And me and Gary have been talking about this for a while now, especially Gary, in terms of derivative cycles versus, actual, you know, uh, backed systems of money backed by gold and silver, in real value. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say for now, Gary, but thanks for
No,
asking.
no, that's brilliant. And again, when we take a step back and observe the entire world market, you know, the volatility of the um, supply chain, the fact that certain countries have fundamentally backed their currencies by gold, the fact that they're trading no longer in dollars, will all have huge effects within the Western nations compared to the Eastern nations, and so it's very, very complex at the moment, and nothing is particularly certain other than we're building towards a crescendo of something, that really is going to be a change coming, you know. And I do think that, I've always felt that by April the 1st, we will know, or we will see something decisive happen that gives us clarity in what's been going on and moving forward. And at the moment, we're probably in the soup, and the soup's very thick. or the fog's very thick, and we can't see beyond the end of our noses still at the moment. And we just have to hold space and accept that, you know, and and just keep on doing the things that you love and enjoy doing. If you have some spare money, of course, invest in the things that you believe will give you um, security. My personal, and this none of this is financial advice, obviously, um, but hard assets are going to become more and more difficult to obtain. I think copper has just gone on to the rare minerals, um, as well as silver and a few others. And I think we're going to see countries restricting the amount of movement of certain metals from country to country. And this will put a strain on such things. And if the prices remain mooted artificially, it's going to start biting, and it's going to bite somebody, a company or a country or countries in the arse hard. And I'm sorry, there's no other way that for me to express that, but we're starting to really see this game playing out. So my advice would be to keep an eye on not only gold and silver, but platinum and palladium, copper particularly, and see where what we're seeing. See the big players, how they're moving and maneuvering. It's a chess game. It's a chess game.
Well said, Gary. I kind of want to add in what we discussed yesterday, just a little of it, because it's a part of it is that a part of it is related to what what's going to be done with the debt with this debt that that the United States seems to have, right? This $37 trillion debt to who we don't know. We don't really know who it's to. It's seeming to other countries for the debt bonds that they purchased, but I don't know that we really know. But it seems they have a plan. The plan involves, moving money through crypto, through gold. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say anything more. We kind of mentioned it yesterday, but there's a big plan that could involve that, and could
Yeah,
change the kind of face of how we utilize our money. We kind of bridge and exchange, and that could have to do with the digital ID stuff. We'll see. We'll see. I don't think that stuff will last. There's no way we'll accept it. It's way too much. But I'm
yeah,
going to pull up the human design chart real
yeah.
quick,
Please do. Yeah,
and then we
yeah.
can go further from there because this is the last chart. Give me a sec. I just have this strange situation where it's not showing me.
It's up there. I can see it.
Okay.
Hopefully,
Now
hopefully
I can
anyone
see it.
else
I
can.
couldn't
Yeah,
see
you
it
see it
just a
now.
second.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't just go in front for some reason. So this is the chart for November 19th. And I've been harping on this chart because, yeah, it is the new moon, but there's a lot going on with it. And the human design chart expresses a more detailed version of exactly what parts of the signs these planets are in and a more precise meaning. So as we look at it, only one channel is completely active, and that's the 8-1. And this channel is uh set up of Venus in gate 1. And I just went over that. If you guys want to know the meaning of gate 1, I just released a video a couple days ago on it because that's where the sun is at right now. And gate 1 is like all yang energy, it's creation energy, it's the beginning. And so it's creative energy, and it's an individual channel right here. And it's connected to the 8. And sitting in the 8 is Earth, because that's opposite the 14, which is going to be on the 19th. And so it's going to activate this channel, and this channel is about knowing. It's a self authority. It's a self awareness. It's a projector. It's a projected channel, and it's about knowingness, a subtle just knowingness, and that is the truth and awareness and authority of this particular chart, of any chart that has self-projected authority as a projector. And so there's a knowingness that we're all going to have during this time. And this is the in-depth knowingness. This is Scorpio and Taurus, this 8 and 1. So this is the energy I was talking about in the astrology chart about this kind of great depth meeting this expansive fire. Once the great depth of the self is explored and the knowingness is understood and accepted and ingested and fully owned, then the expansive fire of the Sagittarian arrow can shoot into the world and truths can be demanded or asked for or expressed and communicated. And so it's a powerful time. There will be more protesting. There will be more awareness of greater truths, coming to the collective and coming to our awareness. And so it's a very powerful time, but again, it's a clash because there's an opposition between the mind and Uranus. There's an opposition between Mercury and Uranus. So there will be tensions, there will be swings, both in our emotional cycles as well as in our financial cycles. And this will come to a more focused clarity as the month moves towards the end. So in summary, we have a month that's like a three-phase cycle. The beginning of the month, mostly chaos with all these shifts and aggressions and initiations. And then mid-month with the retrograde, a reset of sorts, a looking within, a turning within. And then near the end of the month, a rebound with the energy shooting up excitedly into the next month in Sagittarius energy. And that could bring up the markets as well. And it'll be interesting to see what the narratives are for mid-month for this Mercury retrograde, for what kind of truths we're going to dig into as a collective, as also in our individual lives. And as I mentioned, it has to do with our relationships with others, our deep relationship with others, and really expressing some intense and powerful awarenesses and being authentic in those expressions, as I mentioned. And then after that, being ready to face whatever or take the vision forward. Because again, we're all moving our Aries vortex vision forward until February of next year. Gary, you want to add anything on that? I think that's all I got.
No, yeah, it's great. I haven't got much to say on this, but I did get this word come into my head from higher self, and you're going to love this. I got, you're going to realize your pants have been pulled down. It's a pants pull down moment. All of a sudden, you're standing there, and someone comes up behind you and pulls your trousers down. And from that is the reaction, and the bow is released, and the arrow goes, and it's reaction from having your pants pulled down. I don't know why I'm getting that. I don't know why I'm saying that. I'm getting a reaction to it, but that's what I'm being guided to say, and I don't know
That's
why.
good.
But
You're just
but
describing the energy. Yeah, right. This is a great image of the energy, of what it's going to be
yeah,
and what it can be. So be aware, make sure you wear a belt, and you tie it accordingly so that that can happen to
yeah. Make sure you got underwear on, please.
you don't want this happening literally or metaphorically.
Metaphorically, yeah.
You want to I'm not gonna go deeper into the metaphor.
We don't
We'll
need
leave it
to.
there.
But
We'll
that,
leave it
but
there.
that might make sense nearer the time, everyone. Okay, I don't know why, but that's what it was. We got pants are going to be pulled down, and you're going to realize our pants are being pulled down, and the bow is going to be released at that point, and the arrow is going to go, and the arrow will be guided where it needs to go to affect something that will move us forward. You know, so sometimes we get strange things come into our heads that don't really make sense, but we have to express it. You know,
All right, I think was there anything else you were gonna add? I'm trying to think.
not really, not really. There's only one conundrum, and I think Meten and I are going to have to look into this further. Perhaps next month we might, it's going to take a little bit of research or looking at. And Meten briefly went over it, and we're not going to go into it too deeply today. But we've got a conundrum for you, and the conundrum is, who does America owe the money to? Who is America in debt to when all the other G7 countries are in debt themselves and owe money to somebody else? And this goes for around the world. Every country appears to be in debt. Who do they owe the money to?
That's a great question.
And with that conundrum, I think we should leave you with that one to think about. And we can come up with obvious names, but I think it's deeper than that. I think it's a lot deeper. And who knows? Perhaps the pants being pulled down will be the opening of the curtain of the Wizard of Oz by the dog, and we'll see who's behind pulling the strings. You never know. You never know. It's coming.
Yeah, they get a sneak peek at that, and then we'll forget, and the memory will be erased,
That's the
and we'll
one.
forget, and on to the next show as they temporarily edit this realm that we live in.
That's right, because we mustn't see behind the veil. No, no, no.
And if we do, then there's the mind wipe comes next, you know? All right. Thanks, Gary. That was brilliant. All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll see you guys on our next show.
Yeah, thank you very much. Blessings, everyone. And make sure you check out Metens Plutonic Planes with the human design when he goes into one, which he dropped a few days ago. Certainly for my recording, when I release this, I'll release it a bit later than Meten, so it could be nearly a week ago for me. So, but there we go. Stay safe, everybody. Love, light, and blessings, and we'll catch up with you next month, I'm sure. Bye, everyone.